Have you ever prepared what you thought was the best lesson ever, delivered that instruction to your students, and then they did amazingly well on whatever content it is that you covered? And then a month or so later, you ask your students to remember those same concepts, and you're staring out at a sea of blank faces until finally someone's brave enough to raise their hand and say, "I don't think you ever taught us this." I wonder why that happens. Well, in a typical math classroom, we teach our students, and then we have them only practice over the content we've just covered. So if we continue in that same fashion over the course of a unit, teaching our students the new content and then having them practice over what we've taught today, when we get to the end of the unit, we usually have a test. And what do you do the day before a test? You end up having to spend time reviewing for that test. Why do we have to do that? We've just taught that content. Well, it's because our kids forget. And then as teachers, we're stressed and everyone's frustrated. So the common struggle that we all face is, how do we make math stick? Josh Britton, the Algebra 1 teacher who created Get More Math, faced the same dilemma. And he knew what needed an adjustment was the way in which his students practiced. So he didn't just have his students practice over the content that he had covered. He also created a mixed review piece. It's cumulative practice, so that your students are practicing all of the content that you've covered. So at Get More Math Day, you provide the instruction, and then you use assignments, brief focus practice, to make sure your students understand the content that you've just covered. And then your students will work in mixed review, that cumulative practice that's individualized, prioritized for each of your students based on the content that you have covered. So Get More Math has assignments and mixed review practice to support your instruction. So how does Get More Math make the math stick? That mixed review, the cumulative practice that's individualized and prioritized for your students, is so valuable. But Get More Math takes it a step further. We don't reward completion. In fact, we have a point system, and you'll see a dollar sign when you look at a student's screen. The dollar signs indicate that when that problem is solved correctly on the first try, the student earns a point. Get More Math values accuracy. And by valuing accuracy, we're driving students to true understanding of concepts. And that true understanding of concepts, working in conjunction with cumulative practice, that's how we make the math stick. In Get More Math, you'll have those two modes of practice: assignments that help for short-term retention, to make sure your students understand today's concepts. But for long-term retention, the power is in mixed review. It's the cumulative practice that's individualized. It's what makes the math stick. And whether it's the end of a unit or the end of the year, teachers don't have to spend time reviewing for a test. So there's happy students along with happy teachers, because Get More Math makes the math stick.